Feel free to like the video if you like, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to not miss any of our next videos. We begin how to take care of the goat. Goats are intelligent and curious animals that can be a lot of fun. However, they also require a lot of work. If you don't take care of them properly, they can become aggressive and try to run away. Fortunately, you can make your goat happy by creating a safe space for it, feeding it properly, grooming it, and taking care of its health. Method 1. Create a safe space. 1. Prepare a pasture. It must be large enough to put the goat, its shelter, and its entertainment, for example large rocks on which it can climb. She is going to get her food from the pasture, which is why you have to give her space to allow her to graze. Goats like to eat plants such as grass, weeds, and bushes, which is why you need to put lots of vegetation at their disposal. Goats seek their food and eat everything in their pasture. Make sure the plants you grow there are not poisonous. Goats love weeds. Don't pull them out. Yours will enjoy it. It would be best to give him half a hectare of grazing space or more to allow him to search for food. If your plot is smaller, you will need to give it additional food based on straw and dumplings. If you have between 2 and 4 goats of a small breed, 20 square meters should be enough if you supplement their diet. 2. Install a solid fence. The fence you install should keep goats indoors but also keep predators outside. These animals are intelligent and can climb, which is why they often escape from their enclosure. The fence must be high enough and difficult to climb. Choose one that is at least 2 meters high. Some goat owners decide to install an electric fence that gives them one more reason not to go near it. You can build a solid fence by installing solid wooden stakes deep into the ground. Then anchor them with cement. Close the fence with livestock mesh, choosing a narrow mesh rather than a wide one. Avoid leaving food near the fence to prevent the goats from escaping. They will be less inclined to get away with it if they have lots of space, enough food, good shelter, and games. 3. Build a shelter for the goat. At a minimum, you must provide a 3-sided shelter facing south that will protect it from the wind. The goat will come and take shelter there to protect itself from bad weather, especially rain and heat. The shelter should be well ventilated, but without drafts. Put straw on the floor inside so the goat can get comfortable. Goats can live in a small shelter or a large kennel. You can also choose to pour a concrete slab in the shelter. It will be easier to maintain. However, it will cost you dearly and you will also need to cover it with straw. 4. Give games to your goat. Goats are very intelligent animals, and a bored goat is a goat that will cause you problems. You can install different types of games such as large rocks, a ramp on which it can climb, or recycled barrels. The goat will have fun climbing on it and banging its head against its obstacles. Make sure that everything you put in the enclosure is solid and does not contain anything that could harm it, such as nails sticking out. Use toys and treats to stimulate your pet. Method 2. Feed the goat. 1. Give them cool water. Goats need permanent access to fresh water. Use a large heavy container to prevent them from spilling it. You should check the water at least twice a day and more often on hot days. During the winter, you'll have to change their water all day if the temperature drops below freezing. You can also buy an antifreeze container at a specialist store. 2. Give it lots of vegetation. This can include grass, weeds, vines, and other plants. They can even eat thorny plants like brambles. If your pasture does not have a wide variety of plants, you may want to consider planting common herb seeds like dandelion. Plant bushes along the fence, as goats prefer to graze there. You can also give them other plants they like. Try to offer them a mixture of the following plants: grass, weed, climbing plants, ivy, thistles, brambles, nettles. 3. Keep your goats away from dangerous plants. These animals have a reputation for eating anything, but there are plants that can harm them. Even if they can recognize them, they are also curious and they will still nibble on them. Make sure you don't see such plants growing in or around your pasture and avoid giving them to your animals. Here are some of the most common plants dangerous to goats. The rhododendron milkweed azalea, the yew, the oleander, the delphinium thrush, larkspur, wild cherry, buckthorn, purgative, the lilac, the daffodil, laurel, the poppy, rhubarb, the tomato. For supplement their diet. Goats do not need grain in their diet, but they will like to snack on it. It is also a great food choice in winter or if your pasture is too small to let them just graze. For example, give them hay, oats, bran and barley. Goats generally consume between 3 and 4% of their total weight every day. You are going to have to base the amount of food you give them on their weight. Supplements are only necessary if your animals do not have enough to eat when they are grazing on the pasture. You should also give a feed supplement to a goat before mating or when you are fattening it. You will find goat meatballs that contain more nutrients. You can give them instead of cereal. Give them more food in winter, as this will help them withstand the low temperatures. For example, you could feed them 4% of their body weight if they cannot graze. 5. Hang the feeders above the ground. Even if they like to graze, goats don't like to eat on the ground. By keeping their food above the ground, you also reduce the risk of mold and prevent insects from eating or swarming in food. When you feed them, for example hay, it would be best if you put it on the wall of the shelter or on one of the posts on the fence. The feeders we use for horses are a good option. If you have more than one goat, choose a large feeder. They will try to push each other to eat, and an undersized feeder could cause injury. 6. Get a food supplement with salt to lick. Goats need many vitamins and minerals, but the quality of their food depends on the quality of the soil and what you feed them. Often they will need a dietary supplement. Many homeowners choose to give them a salt mixture or a salt stone that contains the necessary mineral salts. In this way, the goats will happily eat their supplement and they will also drink more water. Your veterinarian can advise you on an appropriate mixture, as the quality of the soil in your area will determine the type of minerals they will need. He can also advise you on the type of salt stone you should give them and the quantity you should provide. You can buy a goat mixture or a lick stone at a specialty farm product store. Be sure to keep supplements away from goats, as they may otherwise eat more than necessary. Method 3. Caring for the goat. 1. Brush it every day. You should use a stiff brush which will break and remove the dried mud and dirt from its coat. Then brush it through its hair to remove any remaining dirt. Finally, brush it with a soft brush to give it a shiny coat. While you brush it, run your hands over its coat to make sure there are no bumps, as these could indicate illness or injury. If you feel anything abnormal or your goat's behavior has changed, call your veterinarian immediately. 2. Examine his hooves daily. Keep them dry as much as possible. While you brush it daily, you should check its hooves to see if they are damaged or if something is stuck in it, for example stones or dirt. Take out everything you see and make sure your hooves are healthy. If you notice a bad smell or signs of damage, call your veterinarian immediately. You can remove stones or dirt from the hooves with a hook or by hand. Bad smells can be the result of a condition called hoof rot that requires treatment. In most cases, the goat will have to undergo a treatment based on hoof baths with copper sulfate. However, you should still consult your veterinarian. 3. Trim his hoofs. Your pet cannot run, jump and climb cheerfully without healthy hoofs. Unfortunately, you can hurt him if you cut them too short, or if you don't cut them enough. Ask a professional to show you how to get a good idea of the size you want. Once the hooves are properly trimmed, you should start again every 6 to 8 weeks to keep them at the correct length. If you do not feel comfortable enough to do it yourself, ask a professional to do it. It is better that you pay a professional to do it instead of hurting your pet. 4. Trim his coat if necessary. Use an electric razor to do this. When the weather is a little cooler, you could trim the hairs around the udder, belly, tail and thighs. During the summer, you could choose to trim the hair shorter to make your pet feel more comfortable. If this is your first time, start with a small area to help out. You should also ask someone with experience to show you how. Do not trim the hair close to the eyes, ears, or other sensitive parts until you know how to use the shaver properly. There is no minimum length for goat hair, but you should take into account the weather. You should refrain from cutting them too short if the weather gets colder. Method 4. Keep the goat healthy. 1. Clean excrement and litter daily. Take out the droppings and the bad-smelling straw every day. You should do this as much in the pasture as in the shelter. Replace the litter with fresh straw. This will prevent the goat from getting sick, as you will be removing the parasites that live in its droppings. Once or twice a year, you must do a thorough cleaning of its shelter. Take out all the litter and rub well everywhere. Then replace the litter with fresh straw. 2. Exercise the goat. Goats are active animals. You need to make sure you exercise them. Encourage her to climb by placing obstacles in her pastures such as large rocks, wooden structures, or bushes. You can also play with it. If the pasture is small, you can go for a walk with your goat. Goats like certain games like rocking swings that allow them to go up and down while trying to balance on them. 3. Learn more about the Bose injection. The Bose injection contains selenium and vitamin E, which the goat needs to stay healthy. These are all the more important for his muscles, bones, and reproductive system. Since many animals do not have enough, the injection is usually given once a year. Since you can only get the injection through your veterinarian, you will need a prescription. If you are going to mate your goat, you should inject it before the mating season. This allows the kid to develop properly while protecting the goat from possible complications. 4. Vaccinate your pet every year. Goats should receive the CDT vaccine, which protects them against Clostridium perfringens type C and D and against tetanus. The effects of the vaccine decrease over time, which is why you should give them a new dose every year. If your goats mate, goats must receive their new vaccine 30 days before the start of the season. While goats must receive it 30 days before giving birth, kids must receive their vaccine within 5 to 6 weeks of birth and a new dose 3 to 4 weeks after the first 20. You can also vaccinate them against rabies if your veterinarian advises you to do so. However, it is not a standard vaccine for these animals. 5. Deworm the goats. These animals can be infected with internal parasites like worms, which is why you need to deworm them. Since there aren't many dewormers designed for them, you'll probably be using one designed for sheep, cattle, and horses. You will only need to adjust the dosage based on the size of your pet, so you should discuss this with your veterinarian first. If you are raising goats, you should deworm the females right after giving birth to protect the mothers and their kids, as the dewormer will end up in breast milk. Kids must be dewormed between 6 and 8 weeks after birth. You will also find various tips online for deworming your animals properly. 6. Watch for bloating. Goats can suffer from bloating for many reasons. For example, if they eat too much, if their diet is not balanced, or if they have consumed a poison. In any case, it can be dangerous. If you notice that your pet's belly is swollen, rounder and harder than the day before, you should take it to the veterinarian. You may also notice that his stomach is tighter, that the goat has trouble walking. She may also have gas. It is best to consult your veterinarian before trying to treat it yourself. One of the treatments consists in passing 500 milliliters of mineral oil or cooking oil down the throat of the goat before making it walk and massaging it to make it evacuate its gases. Then you mix 1 teaspoon, 2s, baking soda in a cup of water or molasses. When the mixture is ready, give it to your pet. Bloating can be dangerous, which is why you need treatment right away. Advice: ask your veterinarian for more information about goats. Goats love to climb and jump, which is why you should install large rocks or obstacles for them to jump on. If you don't know how to trim your hoofs, you should take them to the vet or professional. Make sure the fence latch is on the outside. You can only have 1 goat, but they will be happier if you have at least 2. They will also play with your dogs or other animals. If you choose to decorate your pet, it is recommended to do so when he is about a week old. Adult goats must be decorated by a veterinarian. Warnings: many decorative plants such as azaleas are poisonous for goats. Make sure the plants you give them are safe. And that's it for today. Feel free to like the video if you like, share it with your friends, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget subscribe and activate the notification bell to not miss any of our next videos.